go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:32 p.m. on May 24th, 2022. All commission members are currently present. This meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption to the meeting occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, it will not be resumed, and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. And this meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. And if anyone else is recording the meeting, you are required to let the chair know at this time. Okay, hearing none, we can go to the first item on our agenda, which is approval of minutes for May 10th, 2022.
A motion to accept the minutes from May 10th, May 22nd, May 10th, 2022.
Second that.
All right, a motion to accept the minutes by Rachel, seconded by Kristen. Any further discussion on those minutes? Does anyone need any more time to review the minutes? Okay, well, hearing no further, uh-oh, I just clicked something that's going to open on my computer. All right, well, hearing no further discussion, I will put the motion to a vote. We'll do a roll call vote. Rachel?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Standing.
Okay, and I am an aye. So that motion passes and the minutes are accepted. Next on our agenda is we have no public meetings or public hearings at this meeting. So next on our agenda is other business and enforcement updates. First on the list, we had Griswold GTD Conservation Area Trail Maintenance. I don't have anything to update there. Mitch, I'm not sure if there's anything.
Not too much. I invited the Girl Scouts because they said they were interested, but I don't know if anyone could make it. I invited the Boy Scouts. I invited Lincoln in case he had any updates.
Okay.
Someone said that they could make it. I don't know if that's the call-in user, but maybe not.
Okay.
But that's
No, Colin's fine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we have another user, not non-call-in, I guess. So I see Bob Williford in this meeting. If you happen to be here to talk about that, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on to our next agenda item.
I guess the Girl Scouts just wanted like kind of a brief description of what they might be doing.
Okay. Yeah, did you happen to, I don't know, did you mention any of the stuff to them that we had talked about, or do we need to put something together?
I mean, just kind of, bridge building.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I got the gist of it for them.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I don't remember which meeting I brought this up at, if it was just the last one or the one before that. So I'm not sure if everyone heard it, but I had spoken to John Pasiglia, who is on the Community Preservation Committee with me. That's how I got to talk to him. And I heard that he was a Boy Scout troop leader, and so he said the Boy Scouts would be interested in doing projects like building bridges and making signs and things like that. So that's where that was all coming from. And then, yeah, it sounded like the Girl Scouts might also be interested in doing similar projects. So that's great.
It's awesome. I just wanted to add that I said that I would go there and kind of check out potential items that I could take care of myself, or just get another set of eyes on them. And I have that on my schedule for early next week. And what was the other thing? I'd also be happy to, if there's a volunteer who wanted to cut some of the obstructions, maybe I'd be happy to go with them. If we wanted to have a commission member present at the time. And the last thing is,
I can send them your way.
great. And the last thing is, John Pasiglia helped us with a Northfield Trail project that I worked on, and yeah, has great experience from what I remember, and built benches, and I don't know if he still works at the Pioneer Valley School, but his shop class helped out. It was great. So that's awesome that he's up for helping on this.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was invited to the last meeting, but he wasn't able to attend. And when I spoke with him, he said that one of us could go to a Boy Scouts meeting if we wanted to talk about the project, or he could come to one of our meetings, or both. So yeah, that might be another avenue if someone wants to go to a Boy Scout meeting and talk about it, and a Girl Scout meeting maybe. And about like the bridges, we had kind of identified a few little stream crossings where like some sort of bridge or walkway or something might be useful. And I've been meaning to look up, like, I know there has to be, like, um, some like guides on how to do that, like National Park Service or forestry, or somebody's got that already figured out. So I've been meaning to look that up, but I haven't done that yet.
I have something from the DCR.
Mm.
It's like, I think that they use, I want to say School for Field Studies, or some volunteer group that the DCR uses, and they have these protocols. I can pop that in the Google Drive, but where should I put that?
I think so. We have well, I guess it might be more general than just Griswold. Uh, I guess maybe
You have like
send it
a
to,
best practices folder or something like that.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe send it to Mitch and let him figure out where to put it.
Okay. That sounds good.
Travis, can you just repeat what you were looking for as far as materials go?
Oh, I was just thinking about some kind of guides on like best practices for building like bridges on hiking trails. And
Got it. Okay.
I'm sure there are like designs out there, and like they should be this wide and this long, and things like
Yep.
that.
Yeah, I think I have a good one from the Forest Service if I can find it. But I
Yeah.
will send it over if I can.
Yeah.
I think the one that I have is only on Punchin, so it might not be that great, but I'll send it to Mitch.
Sure.
Sorry, Rachel.
No, that's okay. I was gonna say I have a forestry manual, U.S. Forest Service manual for like outdoor accessibility guidelines,
Mm.
like design guidelines for bridges and paths and that kind of thing. So I can also add that to the drive or email it to Mitch.
Mhm. Okay.
Not to go off topic, but I was just wondering if we could have just sort of like an information folder there, because I was looking for Kristen's the things that you sent along. I was thinking, if we have kept them in the drive, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we do have a if you go in like, well, there's a couple spots. There's like on the Google Drive, there's a folder for I think under like administrative documents.
Yeah, I saw
There's
that, but
there's like a guidance folder, so maybe that could be a place to put stuff like that. Oh, I see Kristen already added DCR trail maintenance and wetland permitting plan in there.
I did, so maybe I already shared that.
Yeah. That was on March 26th. Oh, March
Right.
26th, 2021.
Okay, oops. I don't know what that is. I'll look at that before I
Okay.
load up more stuff.
But maybe we can organize that folder a bit better and have
Yeah.
like under guidance, have like a folder for trail maintenance and a folder for, you know, wetlands permitting or whatever. Anything else on the Griswold trail maintenance topic? Okay, hearing none. Our next agenda item is the potential sale of city-owned property, the portion of parcel 124-53. And Mitch, I don't know if you can talk about this one.
Yeah, I think it just needs your review and approval.
Okay. Let me, hold on. I got out of our meeting folder here. So I'm going to share this. So we have a PDF. The mayor has authorized the Department of Planning and Development to proceed with surplus property distribution process for this parcel with the intention of selling a portion of the parcel. The owners of 139 Harrison Road have requested to purchase the portion of parcel 124-53 that abuts their property. And then it has information about it. So this is the parcel. I think I saw on one of these maps that they were like proposed roads that never happened. And here's the portion of the parcel.
But that's just, I was curious because it is the portion of the parcel that looks like it would be the continuation of Davis Street.
Mm.
If the city is willing to sell it to them, is that essentially saying like, yeah, we're never gonna continue Davis Street? They just gotta like open up the rest of those properties then to like purchase the portions that extend
Yeah.
their yards.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it to me.
Probably be an expensive-ish bridge there, so maybe they don't want that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it looks like, yeah.
Anybody else notice? I mean, it was just interesting watching Cherry Run Brook kind of change over the different aerial imagery, but like it looks like that fence is almost like in the water in the most recent aerial photos. At the corner of the house whose owners want to buy the piece.
There's a fence like all the way back.
No, just next to the yellow line, corner of the house property there. Or I shouldn't say corner of the property, but right. You can see it in the second photo.
This one?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, just like that kind of. If you follow the house to the left.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think the stream's back here though, right?
Yeah. Oh, so those are all just shadows then. I thought that was might be
I
the
think,
water
yeah.
like flooding BVW or something, but it's not. Okay, that makes way more
Yeah, I
sense.
think the stream's back here.
Oh yeah, okay. Just shadows.
Yeah. So I mean, it looks like they've been mowing this, at least like this part already,
Probably for
in the front.
70 years.
They probably thought it was their property, like I think that's how a lot of these things are. Like people think it's part of the property.
I took a ride over, and there's like a church right on the other corner there. So yeah, I think between the two of them, they kind of both whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, mowed that area, and then there's a bunch of trees.
Yeah. I was curious what this. Didn't really look through this. Oh, this is where that parcel was granted to the inhabitants of the town of Greenfield. What's the date on that? 1961.
61. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else?
The owner of, so 124, the large area that contains the majority of the wetlands there, that like, that's owned by the city as well?
I think this whole pink, yeah, this whole pink area is on this one.
Right, but those are just 124.
124.53, the
or
parcel.
153. If you scroll down to
Oh,
the
like in here? Or
page
the
5,
page 5.
where the
This is
number
page 5.
124 is, the like larger.
No. Oh, 123. Oh, 124. Yeah. I see. I'm not sure. Is that city owned? I didn't look that up.
I don't know, that was my question.
Is it to the west or?
Yeah, like in this, in like the open area.
I think that's there's a church there. If it's the area I
No,
think you're looking at.
yeah. I think it's a different area.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm not sure where.
I think that could be wrong, but
I'm not sure where this is in Greenfield to zoom into it.
So Mass Mapper says it's John Dupree, unless I'm mistaken.
Who owns 77 up along Summer Street? It's like Mass
That
Map recently changed the
be-
base map.
My only question, because it was it abuts, like that's a really large contiguous open space parcel in the city, so it just abuts that. But if the city doesn't already own it, then I don't think there's any reason to. Do we have to like motion to approve the sale of this or whatever, or just motion saying that we have no interest in it or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I thought when we had done this in the past, I thought there was like a form or something. I don't know. I mean, I think we can, yeah, motion to approve, the city selling that property, I guess.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like we're interested in it. We're not interested in it, but we think
Yeah.
the city has some other interest in it. Like we're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was just looking at on this website, mass. Wait, is this? Yeah, this is the right one. So this is the parcel here, like the large parcel. And this says it's Living Waters Assembly of God.
Well, maybe it is then.
Who owns like all of that?
Rachel, are you talking about that parcel or the one that's sort of in the center of that development?
Oh, or this one?
Yeah. That one's owned by
Talking about the
person who
one
owns
to the
70.
west.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the
This one.
church.
Yeah, the church owns all that.
Okay. All right. I thought you were
So
talking
you
about the
were
one
you were
behind it.
talking about that big step, the one that Cherry Brook Run Brook actually flows all the way through.
Yeah, that one's owned by John Dupree, who owns 77, or I think
Okay,
that's the name.
yeah. Okay.
It's probably got cars a little
I
close
don't
there.
see
but-
any use for that 6,500 square feet for us.
Yeah.
I agree.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the sale on behalf of the commission of the
Oh, it was
parcel. I lost the
a
I lost the
portion.
page.
A portion of 12453.
Portion of 12453 to the adjacent property owner.
Second.
All right, a motion to approve the city selling it by Fletcher, seconded by Erica. Any further discussion by the commission on that? All right, hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote on the motion. Rachel,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher,
All right.
and I am also an aye, so that motion passes unanimously.
Just a thought that
Mhm.
maybe do we think it's approve or that we have no
Objection.
objections to the city
Yeah.
selling, but just for the future, I
Yeah.
think that would make
Yeah.
more sense. We don't
It's
want to
probably
sound too self-important,
Yeah,
We'll allow it though.
yeah, we'll allow it. All right. So next on our agenda is Wetlands Ordinance and Rules and Regulations Review. That one's a mouthful. I asked Mitch to put that one on the list just because I knew this was going to be a shorter meeting. And I didn't know if people wanted to start the process of like, I think if we update our ordinance, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. And, since I don't think we can all like edit a Google Doc together, because I think that would be essentially a deliberation because we'd be seeing each other's work and commenting off of it. And, I think it's going to have to be like someone writes it, brings it back. This is what happened last time it got updated. I looked at the minutes. They like broke out the sections to different people on the commission, and then they wrote an update to it, brought it back to the meeting. Everyone reviewed it, gave comments. They took it back, wrote it again, brought it back, approve it, and then you go to the next section and do the same thing. And it took like a year to get through like the whole thing. So maybe not quite a year, but it was many months. So if that's the way we're doing it this time, I know some of us doing a lot of field work around this time of year and may not have the time to be writing updates to the wetlands ordinance. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up and see if, we could wait until like the winter, it's maybe a little less busy in the winter, and that could be like our winter project. I just wanted to see what people felt about that, because two things that I've found since like looking into this more is that in our ordinance, I think I mentioned this last time, it says that the city council has to approve it, which most cities and towns, I don't think that's in there, and they can just update, or sorry, that I misspoke there. It says in our ordinance that city council has to approve any updates to our rules and regulations that we can, formulate and vote on. Whereas most cities and towns, the commission just votes on it, and then those are the rules and regulations. And that's where we set fees and things like that. So that might make our process a little more complicated, because then the city council has to also approve if we update our rules and regulations to add, like right now we don't have fees for our city ordinance NOI form that we have now, because it's not in our rules and regulations. So anyway, yeah, I'll open that up to anyone who wants to talk about what they think.
I just have two thoughts. One is it worth really confirming that, or maybe you already know, but that the Google Doc option is off the table, just because it would save so much time if it was possible. And the only reason I am kind of pushing that is just because there is a sort of a living record when you do that of edits and all that, which could be looked at by anybody, I suppose. But yeah, just because of, like you said, how long it would take to do the incremental. I just think maybe it's worth checking on that. But then the other thing was, I can't remember the specifics, but there were at least a couple things that seem to be deficient in the current regulations that we have focused in on in the past, that I'm wondering if maybe we want to prioritize, not to say we should do that during this busy season, but maybe first in line when we change. But I can't quite remember what they are. So I can try to look back and see if I can figure that out. But it's come up a couple of times where like it doesn't clearly specify the difference between X and Y or whatever it may be. But I'll try to figure that out.
Yeah, and we do have on the Google Drive, there is a document that was started of like changes that we talked about that we wanted to see in it. So it's probably in there.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I'll look at it again. I browsed it really quick before the meeting, but I didn't see, or didn't click that those were the ones that I was thinking of. But.
Yeah, and my thought on, I mean, I could look into this more, but my thought about the Google Drive is that, or like editing a Google Doc, like it's kind of the same thing as like if we were emailing it back and forth, like if you wrote in and emailed it to everyone, someone else wrote in and emailed it to someone else, and like
right, because we know that's what mass.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
a Google Doc is not the same thing as like a SharePoint project or a file, like a OneDrive type document where multiple people can be editing at the same time?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I think in the eyes of open meeting law, I would think that that's the same thing as what I'm saying is like it's like the same thing as emailing it around. It's just happening instantaneously, and we would be deliberating on commission things outside of a meeting if we were doing it outside of a meeting. I think I can look into it more though. I'm sure there's got to be some guidance about Google. I mean, it's such a common thing to like edit.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the serial communication with email wasn't the sort of end result if you do that mistakenly, that the emails become public? Isn't that like the main or was it there like a penalty? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's a violation of open meeting law.
oh, I see. And like the public.
And then it's up to the attorney general to determine what the.
Okay, I got it.
But I mean,
happens.
how did we do this 15, 20 years ago? If there was a change to the bylaw, the changes would be discussed in the open meeting, but the methodology and the process wouldn't be necessarily a part of an open meeting, right?
Sorry, Kristen, could you say that again? Because you broke up for me.
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking, how did we do this 15 or 20 years ago? I mean, if there was a change to a bylaw, the language was changed, that would be discussed in an open meeting, but the actual process wasn't part of the open meeting, correct?
Well, that's where if someone is writing it on their own, or if less than a quorum of us were working on it, you know, like if Fletcher and I met and like worked on a section, that's less than a quorum of us. And then we could bring it to the commission and then, you know, discuss the updates. But if like, I think if all of us were working on it in a Google Doc, to me that would be the same as if all of us came over to my house and I was sitting there typing and everyone's like telling me their ideas, you know, like that
But
doesn't
if it's in
seem.
like track changes and those
Yeah,
changes were discussed openly, I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's just like, you know, we could write the whole thing behind the scenes and then have like one meeting and say, oh, here's our updated thing, vote on it and be done. And you know, like I don't know. I think it's just like I said, I'll look into it, but to me it seems fishy. And you know, you were asking, you know, how they do it 15 years ago or whatever. Like that's where they had like one person writing it and then coming back and talking about the changes, and everyone talked about the changes, and then they wrote it again and then talked about changes. So I think that's the part, like in the meeting they would talk about like what changes they wanted to see. And whereas like if we did that outside of a meeting, we would still be doing those things. It would just be like in the document and like not in a public meeting anywhere, like discussing our rationale for, you know, changing things. I don't know.
One way we could sort of organize, or I guess the precursor to the actual editing could be just to go through all these change ideas, because there's a huge list, and
Yeah.
like we might not want to do all of them. So like discussing that bullet list of things that have been accumulated over the last whatever 6 years and put in this document might be one way to start, where like we're not actually hashing over like the exact wording of things, but we could be taking notes that would help the person that was assigned that section, if that's what we end up having to do.
Yeah.
And give them a start without having to like actually go through like paragraph by paragraph all together during a meeting.
Mhm.
I agree with the time frame. I think that a fall, like winter, is a better time to attack
Yeah.
actual like assign people sections or actually like have to do editing. So I think it would be cool to fit that in this time of year. But if we wanted to like try and discuss like an idea or two and get through the list in shorter meetings like this, that we could. I don't know if that makes sense. Kind of keep the flow going.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, can we just
Sure.
summarize what are our action items on that? Is this something that we're looking to do collaboratively, or can we just summarize what our next steps are?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think the steps for when we're going to start actually writing updates, if we do, would be like fall or winter. So I don't think we're prepared at this meeting maybe to talk about like potential changes, but I guess that could be something like everyone can really like go over the ordinance as it is, and um, you know, there, Kristen, I don't know if you've seen it, but there is a document that we were mentioning where we discussed like potential things to change in it. So we can, uh, we can all like have our ideas. And I think we do have a copy of the MACC model bylaw on the Google Drive. Um, so that's a good place to, make sure we're at least as clear as as that model bylaw. And I know there were some things that we wanted to add, like we don't talk about what interests we're protecting. It just has like the same as Wetlands Protection Act, but I think we talked about adding like climate change, like carbon sequestration as like an interest of wetlands or whatever, or like you can add recreation as an interest. So I think we need to like, yeah.
I was just going to say that there's also in that document examples from other towns. I think Cassie might have put them in there, that we could pick and choose pieces of that. Like a lot of it does address some of the list of to-do things that we have. So
I think the two biggest issues with bylaws that give the city or town or strength over the state regs are protecting isolated vegetated wetlands, isolated unvegetated wetlands, and vernal pools. So I feel like personally, as long as we have strong language on those three issues, I'm good. And I know Ayer and Groton both have very detailed bylaw languages on vernal pools, kind of, detailing the buffer, but excluding certain areas such as, maintained lawn and driveways and impervious surface areas. So it's not just some blanket buffer that doesn't make sense. And that includes areas outside of jurisdictional resource areas. So it's upland under the bylaw. Those are my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and I guess if you know of some that it would be really good models, maybe I don't know if we could like save. I don't know if they have like a PDF of it or somewhere that we can save and have those to look at.
I have
think so.
I have those. Should I put them on the Google Drive?
Sure.
Or email them to Mitch for him to organize?
Yeah, you can email them, Mitch.
Okay.
Figure it out. Sure.
Yeah, I think there's a folder where we have like wetlands ordinance update stuff.
Okay.
so I just want to say I think I might have been mistaken about the other town examples being in that doc, but I think we have those somewhere, or at least it calls out towns that we can look at, and maybe another spreadsheet. But I was looking at the editable Greenland's bylaws there. And then I just want to ask Rachel and Erica if either of you remember Bill Luttrell had called out some specific issue he had with our bylaws, I think around like the 25-foot or something like that. And that's what I can't remember what his specific issue was. So if either of you remember or remember at some point, I thought that was a good point of criticism because that came up and stalled us for a while on some particular project.
I do remember the issue came up around the center school, and it was both Bill and Ward when they attended a meeting together, and they were calling out the fact that our wetlands, our town ordinance, requires a 200-foot riverfront area applied to intermittent streams, which so that is something that has been never really enforced. It's really inconsistent, and also it puts it potentially puts a lot of projects in that category of not being like not falling under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act, but only falling under the jurisdiction of Greenfield Town Ordinance. And so I don't remember the justification for it. I think it had to do with Maplebrook and like really the like heavily urbanized intermittent streams right along Mohawk Trail. But Bill, the part that I don't remember is the backstory of what the justification for that is in Greenfield. And their criticism was entirely around that they felt like it was something that was ineffective because people didn't know about it and weren't following it, and that it was not being enforced. And so we should reconsider whether it was a practical, practical to have something in, and either decide that we need to come up with a system to properly and like equally enforce it, or get rid of it.
I remember that too. An applicant came before us not that long ago and basically said, we haven't enforced it in the past, so he shouldn't be held to that same standard because it's a precedent that we've set.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was the
I remember that,
one
yeah.
that was I couldn't grasp, but that was exactly it.
And I think some of that is what kind of spurred me to, think like we should have a form for like our city, or like a city NOI for only our ordinance, if that's the only thing that applies. So like we didn't really have any form for someone to fill out before to do that. So we couldn't enforce it unless it was also, Wetlands Protection Act. So we do have a way to enforce it now. It's just, are we going to enforce it, or how are we going to enforce it?
Mhm.
So, and I don't think we're unique in having riverfront area on intermittent streams. Like, it might not be the most common, but I think there are other towns that have that.
One thing that Cassie did put together, I think Fletcher might be what you had been looking for. There is in the same folder that's shortcutted in the link that Mitch sent out for this meeting. There's a Google sheet where there's like a whole list of like all of the towns in space, or it might be MACC's
Yeah.
puts out a comparison document of all of the different towns. And so they have some like, it's town by town with a little summary chart, and then they have like, 20% of the towns have ordinances that protect intermittent streams and 80% don't. So they have like some graphs and analysis about like what's included in all of the town's ordinances.
Yep. That was definitely part of what or the main thing I was thinking of. But I also noticed there is some copy from like Arlington, for example, in that changes document as well. It's like right after the list. But I also added, I didn't see it there, maybe I missed it, but I added the 200-foot intermittent stream buffer just to look at in the list as well.
Does any commissioner know of another town in Mass that regulates a 200-foot? Is it a riverfront area or a buffer zone that we regulate? Is it a resource area? So
We
it's a
have a
resource area.
riverfront area on intermittent streams.
So it's a whole resource area. Do we know of any other towns that regulate a resource area for intermittent streams in Mass? Does anybody have an example?
There's a list here of these that say intermittent streams protected. So we could go through the town's ordinances that say they protect intermittent streams, but it's not, I don't see anything like specifically like the way that the MACC like harshened out their comparison in this document didn't get into like that level of specifics.
Well, there is a column that says additional riverfront protections, and that's a yes or a no.
But I interpreted that as riverfront like additional protections added to the riverfront area as defined by the Wetlands Protection Act.
Well, it has a yes for Greenfield, and then in the comments on the right, it says 200-foot riverfront on intermittent streams. I'm trying to find another example now.
We used to have this template that we were creating for all the cities and towns in Mass and their bylaws, but I don't know if I still can find that. Maybe like Joey Wigglesworth at MACC would be able to help.
Oh, I see. Type of buffer zone restricted access. I bet that information is in this document
Yeah, if we dig through.
if it exists. It's just I haven't gone through every, just a lot of towns.
Mhm. Yeah, and I will say I don't think it's 100% accurate. That thing, it does say it was put together by an intern. The only reason I say that is because for Greenfield it says that where did it go? It says wait, where was that? Streams. Oh, it says isolated wetlands protected, no, but in MACC's like guidance about writing bylaws, it says that you should add the phrase like whether adjacent to whether adjacent to a water body or not, something like that. And that's the exact same language we have in our bylaw. So it seems like the isolated ones are protected because we have the language that MACC says that we should, even though this document says that we don't. I've opened the Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance so many times. Like as soon as I type GR in my browser, it comes. Yeah, so in our ordinance it says it like lists all the resource areas, and it says said resource areas shall be protected whether or not they border surface waters. So I think that means any of those things that qualify,
Yeah, that's great language because that protects isolated vegetated wetlands and potentially unvegetated IVWs. But we could bolster that language a little bit more if we wanted to.
Yeah, and I mean we could think about, if it makes more sense that intermittent streams, if it should be a buffer area instead of riverfront area, like that could be a change that we could think about. It would make our ordinance less strict, but maybe more realistic. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just that 10.58 is so, I mean, there are so many performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act for riverfront, and there are a lot of intermittent streams, and I don't know. I mean, I'm all for extra protection. It's a lot of regulatory review for the commission members. I just don't know how practical it is to review every application to that level of scrutiny.
It'd be helpful to have like a quick, I don't know, Mitch, if it would fall, if you would have time to do something like this, but like a just adding a 200-foot buffer onto intermittent streams as they're defined by the by the DEP in the town of Greenfield, and see like what's the like area that we're talking about? Like maybe it'd be helpful to just see a map.
I mean, using like GIS.
Yeah,
If I had GIS, yeah, I could.
great.
Yeah.
After that conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of towns have, like a no work buffer or a no touch buffer or a no build zone.
Yeah, we have
building.
that 25-foot no disturb zone. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's different for every town in their bylaw. They have it, they call it different things, but maybe for the intermittent streams, we could create, I don't know, a zone where it's a no build or no touch or something like that, where it's very clear this is important for the interests and the functions of the resource area, but not necessarily holding up to the Wetlands Protection Act performance standards. I don't know. This is a complicated issue. I don't think we're going to solve it tonight, but
I think it might be interesting to take these ideas, these change ideas, and just like select one and be like, okay, at our next meeting, if there's time, we're going to discuss this one change idea, because then we would know ahead of time and we'd be like, okay, we're like at the next meeting, if we're just going to pick one of these and we're just going to discuss this 200-foot on intermittent stream, then we can like, somebody else that has access to GIS could do that map really quickly if they had time, or like we could think about it ahead of time and then have a discussion about it and maybe get to a decision about one of these change bullet points at a time. And like then we could assign the actual writing of it to somebody like in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, or if we knew exactly what changes we wanted to see, I mean, if Mitch had time, we could have Mitch write it. Or like just make edits,
I got time. Sure.
So since he doesn't have GIS, he can't do the math stuff.
Mitch, any information on getting GIS new to since
I don't think
last
so.
time?
No, I wish. Yeah.
Got it.
I'll keep trying.
Yeah, it's. I'm sorry you have to though. That's because
Yeah,
the
it's been
licenses
a long
exist,
battle
right?
for Eric and IT.
Got it.
So Rachel, to get back to your idea, should that be our first topic, the 200-foot riverfront on intermittent streams, and deciding what, whether it makes sense for that to be a riverfront area or some other kind of regulated area?
I think it sounds like a good idea. I mean, it seems like something that it's come up, like probably it's one of the issues that's come up the most, the ordinance, since I've been attending meetings, and
Okay. Well, maybe,
to start.
yeah, maybe Mitch, if you could just add like, ordinance review, 200-foot riverfront on intermittent streams or something,
Yeah, I'll do
just so
that.
we remember what the topic is, and then we could just have that on our agenda, and if we have a meeting that lasts until 11 p.m., we can postpone it to another meeting. We don't have to talk about it, but we can have it on there until we have time to talk about it.
I think that's in section 423-2. That was right at the beginning of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
423-2A.
yeah. Rivers, streams, brooks, and creeks, whether perennial or intermittent, lands adjoining these resource areas out to a distance of 200 feet, known as the riverfront area. Okay. Any more discussion on ordinance review at this moment? All right. Hearing none, we'll go to our next item agenda, enforcement updates. Mitch, it looked like there were some things for this.
Yeah, it's something
Right.
small. Just I sent letters to Spring Terrace and Plain Road,
Mhm.
just kind of reminding them where we're at and just asking them to contact me and we can do a site visit and wrap it up. So just waiting on a response.
Okay. I can just share the letter, I guess. So this is the letter to 21 Spring Terrace. Does anyone need me to read these out loud? Okay. So if there are no more enforcement updates, project monitoring, correspondence, and site visit scheduling. Any updates there?
Just for correspondence, there's a letter from Eversource in there. It's just telling us about a project they're doing that's exempt and telling us that the parts that aren't exempt, there'll be an NOI for later on.
Okay. Upcoming work to be performed as part of Eversource's Greenfield 28W distribution line rebuild project. Decommissioning the substation off of Power Court. Exempt activities being proposed include the installation of approximately 250 feet of new underground conduit between two existing manholes within the road layout of Power Court and the slight enlargement of one existing manhole located within the paved road. The proposed work will occur completely within the road layout. I also want to inform the commission that additional activities are needed as part of the rebuild project within the cross-country right-of-way between the substation and Patriot Corridor Railroad line, as well as other adjacent areas. Notice of intent is being prepared for the activities jurisdictional under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and will be submitted to the Conservation Commission in the coming months. However, this notification letter is being submitted to inform the commission of the upcoming exempt minor utility activities that will occur within existing paved surfaces. Okay.
Really like when they cite specifically where in the Wetlands Protection Act they meet those exemption standards. It's very
yeah.
helpful.
Yep. This work can be considered an exempt minor project per 310 CMR 10.022B2. 2B2, is that a 1? Which allows for the installation of underground utilities, electric, gas, water, within existing paved or unpaved roadways and private roadways/driveways, provided that all work is conducted within the roadway or driveway, and that all trenches are closed at the completion of each workday. Oh, I guess I skipped this section. These activities are scheduled to start soon, late May, early June 2022. Erosion controls will be installed and appropriate best management practices will be implemented if needed. All right, any more comments on that? right. I guess I'll let the commission know that I'm planning to submit an RDA for the removal of more oh, I almost said Bradford pears, not Bradford pears, Norway maples in my backyard, right next to where 30 Spring Terrace, Nancy Hazard removed some. So I'll be submitting that. So someone else will have to run that part of the meeting because I don't think I can vote on that. Anyone else have anything or motion to adjourn?
I will just remind you, Travis, and let the rest of the commission know that I have a scheduling conflict on June 14th. I actually have to be in 3 different meetings that night, but I think I can make it work. I just may be a little bit late to the Greenfield Concom meeting, so apologize in advance. I'm on the Plymouth agenda at 7. I'm not sure how they're gonna go. I don't know where I am on the agenda, but I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, and if anyone else is not going to make it, let me know so I can make sure we'll have a quorum for that meeting in case Kristen's not able to attend.
I'm on the Wendell agenda, but they meet early and they're fast, so I should be out of there. They meet at 6. I should be done with them at 6:30. So maybe I can pop into Greenfield from 6:30 to 7, and then I don't know when I'm on the agenda. But if I'm waiting, Plymouth meets every week. They have so much business in that town, so who knows? I could be first or I could be 10th and maybe not go on till 10. So it might still work out, but I just wanted to let you know.
I appreciate you making the effort to get here despite all that. And random fact is I just was looking at the Mass GIS detailed wetlands change layer, which I never look at because there's nothing in Greenfield really. But yeah, Plymouth is like brutal as far as like the wetlands changed since, whenever they started, 2003 or something, or whatever. But yeah, it's a dense cluster in that town, so it's not surprising.
Yeah. I worked on a very cool Arapanos Clean Water Act enforcement case for the DOJ in that town. A lot going on in that town.
That sounds really intense, Kristen.
I bought
I
my first
feel like
suit.
conflict there.
Had to go to court and everything.
Wow.
Oh, this is unrelated to that, but I just remembered that Counselor John Bottomley reached out to me yesterday, so this didn't make it on. It's not on the agenda or anything, but just to ask if we had heard anything about 13 Stone Ridge Lane, and he said if we hadn't heard anything, he'll put it on the chair's agenda. So, and I told him I haven't heard anything. So,
Great.
That's
Great.
great.
so that's an update
Thank
on
you, John. Thank you, John. Well, I would like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting on May 24th, 2022.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn by Kristen. Sorry, Kristen, I almost always say Christian because Christian is the staff person who works with the Community Preservation Committee. So I have a Kristen here and Christian there. Motion by Kristen,
Okay.
seconded by Fletcher. All in favor of adjourning.
Right.
Hi.
All right, anyone? I'm an aye. All right, then it's unanimous. So we are adjourned at 7:36 p.m.